Hello, good evening, everyone in person at Tushita and everyone online. I hope you can hear me all right. We have a new sound system here so that you will be able, when we interact, to hear, hopefully, also the people who are in person at Tushita. We have these portable mics now, so everybody can hear each other. And if you speak online, also, we'll be able to hear you at Tushita. So yeah, I hope you can hear me properly. So this will be our test tonight. We just received this microphone. All right, so very welcome for this session. So this is a session of about 1 hour, maybe a little bit more. And during this hour, we'll do 2 types of meditation. The first one that we will start just now is a settling meditation, like a session to calm the mind and to arrive here and to be more focused, more concentrated for the rest of the session. Then the second meditation we will do is a guided analytical meditation, meaning that we will actually explore one subject in a guided way in meditation. And today the subject is right speech. And this is one of the 16 subjects that we are currently exploring that are part of a series of meditations that is called the 16 Guidelines for a Happy Life. For example, last week we explored generosity, and the week before we explored honesty, like inner qualities, inner values that we already have and we want to increase, we want to develop further. So today it will be about right speech. And as usual for these sessions, we have also some time to interact among ourselves. After the settling meditation, we'll have maybe 10 minutes we can use to share our ideas and share our experiences about using our speech and right speech. And then also after the analytical meditation, towards the end, we'll also have a few minutes where we can, give feedback about the meditation. If the meditation had an effect, the analytical meditation, if it had an impact on our minds. And also we are interested on feedback about the format for these meditations because they are currently being tested. Actually, this is a pilot series of meditations. Actually, this center, Tushita, is part of a network of centers around the world that is called the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. And we have about 130 centers, services, projects all around the world. And Tushita is one of them. And one of those projects is actually the secular branch of the organization, non-religious branch of the organization that is called the Foundation for the Development of Compassion and Wisdom. And they came up with these meditations on these 16 guidelines for a happy life. And now just a few centers among the 130 are trying them. And then next year, they will be officially launched in all the centers around the world, all the centers who want to do these meditations. So without further ado, let us start with trying to settle our mind. Let us try to arrive here on the cushion and in front of our device at home, those who are watching online. So the best is actually to be seated on the floor. That's the ideal. If you're sitting on the chair at home, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair and not leaning too much forward either. The most important when it comes to the posture is for the body to be upright, for the back to be straight, but like naturally straight, not stiff, don't force it. You can imagine there is like a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your body upright, but at the same time, your shoulders, your arms are relaxed and the body remains flexible. Now you can easily turn. If you're sitting on a chair, ideally, both of your feet are flat on the floor. If the floor is too low for you, then you could have a cushion between the floor and your feet so that they both remain flat. And then if you're sitting on a cushion like here on the floor, the absolute best is called a full lotus posture. So that means you have both of your feet on top of the opposite leg. But that can be a little bit challenging if you're not used to that. So You can sit simply cross-legged, that is perfectly fine, or in a half lotus, or you can also sit, this is the full lotus posture. So this is the best actually for meditation. You can also sit the way they sit in Burma, in Myanmar. They have one leg in front of the other. That's also fine. Cross-legged is fine, but make sure you're comfortable, not pushing, because you want to keep that position, that posture for like at least 5 minutes. Now we will do the settling meditation. Your hands, it's up to you whether you want to put them on your knees, in your lap, palms up or palms down. That's totally up to you, whatever feels natural, comfortable. You can allow some space between your arms and your body for the air to flow. The neck, you can align it in the continuation of the spine, and you can very slightly tilt the head forward, but not too much. Tilting the head a little bit down allows to have, less thoughts, less distraction. But if it is too down, then you will be more foggy, more asleep. So you need to find the right angle. You can place your tongue just behind your upper teeth towards the upper palate. This helps to reduce the production of saliva while you meditate. And you can keep your mouth naturally, not forcefully closed, not completely open, just naturally opened, like just a few millimeters between the two lips. Finally, when it comes to the posture, you can decide whether you want to have your eyes slightly opened, slightly closed. Ideally, you would gaze 1 or 2 meters in the space in front of you, about 45 degrees cast down. But just gaze in space, you avoid visual distractions, and you don't pay attention, to whatever appears in front of you. We use the mental consciousness to meditate. So we don't actually pay attention to what our eyes are seeing. So this is for the posture, and out of all these points, the most important is for the body to be upright, naturally straight. Now we need an object to meditate on. So if you're familiar with such practices, calm abiding, shamatha, single-pointed meditation, you can use the object you're the most familiar with. And if you don't have such a familiar object, what I would recommend is to take the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. As you breathe in and out, you can feel, the air going through your nostrils at the entrance there. You can observe, the sensations. Perhaps as you breathe in, you feel the air is a little bit cool. As you breathe out, it's not cool anymore, maybe a bit warmer. So try to place all your attention on that. We will do that for about 5 minutes, and you will see that during those 5 minutes, we really tend to get distracted, especially as the breathing sensation is not the most entertaining object, no? So we tend to be distracted, and one common way we get distracted is with thoughts. We get excited, like we call this mental excitement. Basically, we are thinking about the past or the future mostly. For example, where am I going to go after this meditation? What am I going to eat tonight? Or thinking about something that happened this afternoon, Then all this mental chatter starts. This is one way we get distracted, and the other way we lose our object of meditation is with mental laxity, also called mental lethargy or dullness. Basically, we don't try hard enough, we don't put enough application in our concentration on our object of meditation, and the mind starts to sink, we tend to fall asleep. So therefore, we also lose the object of meditation, we start daydreaming. So finally, there are 2 antidotes to counteract these distractions. And the first antidote is called introspection. Introspection, you can imagine it's a small part of your mind, like a security guard, you can imagine, that is observing, what is my mind doing? Is it meditating, or is it distracted with thoughts or with lethargy? And the moment this introspection notices that the mind is not on the object of meditation anymore, is gone with thoughts or with lethargy, then we make use of the second antidote, which is called mindfulness. And the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back wherever it is, whatever thought or whatever sleepiness, bring the mind back onto the object of meditation. And also mindfulness, from the Tibetan, we could literally translate it as non-forgetfulness. So it makes sure to remember the object, not to forget the object anymore, to remain focused, on the object of meditation. An analogy that I often use to illustrate these two antidotes, you can imagine if you have a pet dog at home and the dog runs away. Introspection notices that the dog is gone, and as soon as you notice that the dog is gone, mindfulness brings him back home, and you can also imagine tying him against a pillar at home so that he remains there. So it's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind. So let us try for about 5 minutes, being mindful of the two ways we get distracted and using the two antidotes, introspection and mindfulness. gently come out of the meditation. So now that our minds are hopefully a bit more focused, we'll start exploring the topic for today, which is right speech. So I'll introduce the topic briefly, the way the 16 guidelines for a happy life define it, and then we can take a moment to exchange among ourselves what is our experience with right speech and our thoughts about it. So the 16 guidelines, they say words, love them or hate them. It often feels like we are drowning in the noise that we create, the noise that the words create. Not only in our own ears or on a page when we read, but also in our heads, in our minds. The words, they have the power to uplift us, but also to cast us down, to liberate and to entrap. Words create friendships, but also they make enemies. They can gain us great wealth and lose us everything we possess. The power of speech is so great that words cannot do it justice. As soon as a child learns to speak, their life and relationships change. Countless daily choices come next. Whether to speak loudly or quietly, fast, slow, what words to use, when to speak or when to be silent. We learn how to use our speech through trial and error. Each word we utter shapes our thoughts, perceptions, and actions, intertwining with the fabric of our personalities. Speech is not only a reflection of our inner world, but also a dynamic force that sculpts it. Just as a skilled artisan molds clay into intricate forms, our choice of words molds our character and influences our relationships. The ripple effect of our speech extends beyond immediate interactions, shaping the narratives that weaves the tapestry of our lives. For most of us, our level of happiness depends on having positive relationships. And positive relationships depend on how we communicate. Right speech is a commitment to use words skillfully in a way that will bring peace and happiness to ourselves and the people around us. It is about using our speech to take away fear, to bring hope, to make people laugh and feel closer to one another. When we engage in right speech, we foster connections grounded in empathy, respect, and authenticity. By choosing our words mindfully, we create spaces for understanding and dialogue to flourish. This is how we share who we are. So this is a brief introduction from the 16 guidelines for a happy life. And now we are invited, to give our thoughts about right speech and interact among ourselves for a few minutes. And then we will do an analytical meditation on right speech, like properly guided to try and see what is our experience of right speech and how we can use our speech in different ways. Taraji, can you hear me properly online? We have this new sound system here. Is it good? Okay, great. And now you actually will be able to hear people at Tushita. We have these wireless mics, so you'll be able to hear people well. So anybody who would like to say something about right speech, whether here or online, feel free to share your thoughts or your experience with right speech. Yes, please. And actually, no, you have to speak quite close to this, and we can pass it around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one moment. Taraji, can you hear us? Can you hear her? Yes, okay, great. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so in this country, many people had to die to get freedom of speech. A large part of the population is still struggling. Some of them are also behind the bars because they were trying to exercise free speech. While we have free speech, it is like you said, words are so powerful, and with power comes responsibility. So I think when you're using the words, when you're choosing words, I think it is a responsibility cast upon oneself to exercise that power judiciously and to be very conscious of what we are saying, being mindful of the words that we are using. Like you rightly said, words are extremely impactful. Personally, I have failed at many occasions, but the people around me have used words that have actually encouraged me. So my only bit would be, and this is also a reinforcement to myself, that because I have free speech or I can exercise speech and speak, I think the words that I choose should be wisely chosen. It should not end up hurting people. And there's a very thin line between being critical, being honest, and being brutal. I think a lot of times when personally I'm giving a feedback, I think this is a lesson I should tell myself to be more mindful while I'm kind of giving feedbacks, being honest but not being brutal. I think that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago we also had a session on honesty.
Okay.
And how to give feedback.
Okay.
Anybody else would like to share?
Can you hear me?
Maybe a little bit closer.
Thank you so much. I think life is
maybe like, closer to you. Yeah.
I think life is like a phases of the moon. In our life, nothing is like a same forever. When we grow up, we have a love for our mother, and when we grow up more, so we have love for our friends. When we grow up more, we have love for our partner. When we grow up more, so we have love for our children's, and like nothing is like permanent here. Everything change. So according to time, what the people want to stuck somewhere, like at the age, people think I want this thing, but after few years, it is not like more not so important. What I was thinking before 5 years, I want to do this thing, this is blah blah blah, and right now I'm doing the thing is different, which I have not imagined in my past. So like everything is okay, whatever is going on, but don't hurt others. Help everyone as much as you can, but not destroy yourself, and help others. I think share the love with everyone and respect the nature, respect the animals, and don't stuck somewhere. Life is like a river flowing water. Shape of water is not fixed, so don't fix your life somewhere. Just everything is okay, everything has their own life, so it is okay for everything. Just move on and let them live and make yourself happy, and also spread the happiness and love. I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Could I say something?
Go ahead, please.
Are you saying that to me?
Yes, I'm saying go ahead to Taraji, please.
Okay, so sorry. I wasn't sure who you were saying it to. I will just stick more with the practical stuff that I found is very often if somebody criticizes me or whatever, I see it as whatever, I used to make assumptions about them. This is what they mean, but it's been some training for me first to become aware that I don't really know what their assumptions, and not to assume that this is their motive. So if I'm not sure, I ask them. And the other thing that I found useful in terms of speech is just to listen more carefully first. Listen more carefully, even if I feel I'm being criticized, okay, it's not just about me. It's about more than one person. So yeah, pause for a few seconds before you react or jump in with an answer that in the early days used to be ready-made. So that's where I think the meditation has helped me a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Thierry?
No, just to say this for me, it's a difficult topic because I think I'm not native English speaker. Communication is not always easy, and often it's really difficult to put in words a message and to say what we try to say, or to successfully express what we try to say. But I think that's a little bit the key we should look at with humility, which is we cannot control how we try to say, even if we do it the best way, how it will be perceived. And within the fact that of the right speech, we have to acknowledge that a lot of the message we try to say will be perceived depend of how the listener is listening and interpreting. So I think if we have to bring a little bit of compassion and space in our speech for the listener to be able to understand in his own way what we try to say, and not try to impose what it's our true. That's it.
That is very Swiss, no? To speak slowly.
Maybe like you, I did not sleep enough last night. But yes, I come from a country where people have a language not to be understood.
Anybody else would like to say something? Or maybe we should do the analytical meditation and then we can exchange more.
Thank you. So my job is entirely based around speech. So I've been trying to think hard about what you've said. So I'm a barrister in England, and so I'm a barrister in England. So like an advocate, but my job is only in court talking. So I've had to train in it and everything, and it's strange having to think about it in the way that you've described. And I think, sort of adding on to what everyone else has said, I think this has really been mentioned before, but I always have to think about why I'm saying what I'm saying. So there always has to be a consideration for every sentence that I ever say when I'm in court. Why am I saying this? What is the goal? And that's made me much more considered with my speech since choosing that profession. And I think that idea of right speech, in order to achieve your goals and perhaps not upset people or whatever it might be, considering what you're going to say before you say it is fundamental. That's all I was going to say.
I think that's very important to be very conscious about the effects that what we are going to say has, because sometimes it's more important to listen to each other, rather than talking just by talking, just for only for the fact of saying something. I think a lot about wars, for example. as a humanity, as a global humanity, we are going through a very bad period, you know, related to peace agreements and wars and conflicts. And I think that it's about, mostly it's about what we say about the others, you know, about the other cultures, the other way of lives. So I think that it's incredible to figure out how strong the speech could be, you know, and how important is to use it, you know, in a constructive way, you know, in a dialogic way, with the purpose of building, you know, a better humanity and a better world. So yeah, speech is so related to listening as well, you know, to dialogue, to be conscious about what we are going to communicate, and how we can dialogue with other people, you know, and how we can have a better convivence with one another. You know, I think that is something that we should reflect about, you know, especially during this period.
Thank you. Maybe you can leave it there because afterwards we'll also have more conversations. Okay, let us do the meditation, guided analytical meditation on right speech, and then we'll have more time to exchange. So again, find a comfortable posture and choose whether you want to place your hands on your knees or on your lap, palms up, palms down, whatever feels more comfortable. The back should be naturally upright, not stiff. Arms and shoulders relaxed. Drop your chin slightly downwards, slightly forward, but not too much. The neck align in the continuation of the spine. And gaze gently downwards in a way that avoids visual distractions. Or if you prefer, you can lightly close your eyes. Now that you are comfortably seated, turn your attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the body. Let us start by taking 3 long, slow breaths. And for these 3 breaths, allow the air to enter deeply so that your stomach rises and falls with each breath. Now let us analyze. What do we actually mean by right speech? Is right speech just about being accurate and truthful? Or is it something more than that? How important is right speech? What effect does it have on others and on ourselves? Is it possible to change habits of speech that we have built over a lifetime? If so, how do we go about that? How can right speech contribute to our happiness? According to the 16 guidelines for a happy life, to use right speech is to speak with insight and sensitivity. Right speech is about communicating in a way that is caring rather than thoughtless, honest rather than deceptive, and encouraging rather than belittling. It is about using our speech to spread kindness and warm-heartedness to help people connect and to comfort each other, to inspire, bring hope, and take away fear. What does right speech mean to you? Most of us can probably recall a time when we talked about another person in an appropriate or thoughtless way, when we gossiped about someone or criticized them behind their back or had a laugh at their expense. Can you bring to mind a recent time when you did this? Perhaps over a coffee or on the phone or online. Try to remember a recent time when you gossiped about someone or criticized someone, laughed about someone. How did you feel at that time? While you were gossiping or criticizing or laughing? And how do you feel now, just remembering it? Now bring to mind another moment, a recent occasion where you were able to use your speech in a more positive way. Perhaps you made time to listen to someone or help them, or just you shared a friendly word. Perhaps you sent an email, a text message, or a card to someone who needed it. Try to bring to mind an example of when you communicated in a particularly positive way. How did you feel at that time? Using your speech in a positive way to help someone, listen to someone, or sharing a friendly note, friendly word. How did it make you feel? And how do you feel about it now, just remembering it? Each of us holds extraordinary power through the words we choose to say or not to say. Let us do a short exercise, which is an invitation to explore how we speak, what effect it has, and what options we have. Start by imagining that you are waiting in line at a shop, like a supermarket or a pharmacy or even a bank, where there is a big queue, a big line. And maybe you're tired or you're in a rush. It's the end of the day, it's very late, you want to go home. And there's this very long line ahead of you. Try to imagine this as vividly as you can in your mind. So you're looking at this queue in front of you. You have all your things that you want to do later, but now you're stuck in that queue. And then suddenly you realize that someone has pushed in front of you. Someone skipped the line and is standing in front of you. You can't see any good reason for them to do this because they don't have a child, they don't look old or frail. And so you make a gentle protest. Try to do that in your mind, making a gentle protest to that person who just skipped the line in front of you, who just pushed in front of you. And do that in whatever words come naturally to you. What would you say to that person? Now in response, that person turns around and starts insulting you. Their body language is very aggressive and their words are harsh and painful. Allow yourself to feel the shock of being insulted out of the blue for no good reason. Visualize this angry person in front of you in the line and imagine exactly what they say to you. It doesn't have to be much, just identify a specific phrase and say it to yourself just as they might say it to you. We are now going to explore 3 possible ways of responding to these harsh and painful words. When someone says something to us in anger, our instinctive response is often to retaliate with defensiveness and anger ourselves with a similar tone of voice, an intention to hurt back. Even if this is not your normal way of behaving, allow yourself to do it just this once. What words do you say? Imagine you're not giving thought to how you react to that person and he just insulted you to your face very aggressively. And imagine you retaliate in the same way. What words do you say to him? What tone of voice are you using? What effect is this way of speaking having on that person? And what effect is this way of speaking having on you? Now, step back out of this scenario for a moment. Remind yourself that this is only an exercise to explore the power of speech. Take a long, slow breath. Relax your shoulders and hands. Soften your eyes and stomach. And let us explore another way to respond. When somebody out of the blue insults us and uses harsh words and is aggressive towards us, skipping this line. So the second option is to say nothing and to withdraw. So once again, imagine yourself back in that line, that long line, and you're tired or you want to go home. You don't have time. The same person who is pushed in front of you turns around and insults you with the same harsh and painful words that they previously said to you. Now, instead of answering back, stay silent and turn your attention inwards. How do these words make you feel? Are you experiencing hurt, anger, defensiveness? In a spirit of kindness, gently allow yourself to connect with these uncomfortable feelings. Have you experienced these painful feelings before? What do you need to be able to let go and move on? Now again, step back out of this scenario for a moment, reminding yourself that this is only an exercise to explore the power of speech. Take a long, slow breath. Relax your shoulders and hands, and soften your eyes and stomach. We will explore a third option. Instead of retaliating or withdrawing in response to harsh and painful words, we can use them as an opportunity to practice engaging in a more positive way with the person who has spoken them. So let's, one last time, take yourself back to that long queue, long line. You don't have time, you're tired, you want to go home. And imagine that the same angry person who skipped the line and is in front of you turns around and say harsh and painful words again the same harsh and painful words they said previously. This time, take a calming breath and allow yourself to reflect on how that person might be feeling. Suspend any judgment about right or wrong and simply consider why they are so angry and upset. Could there be a deeper reason for their disturbed state of mind? What unmet needs or unhappiness might lie behind their harsh and painful words? Instead of responding with anger or withdrawing, see if you can allow your heart to soften and feel kindness towards them. If you want to reply with words, what do you say to them? What tone of voice are you using? What effect does this way of speaking have on the other person? What effect does this way of speaking have on you? This exercise is not just about standing in the line at the shop or at the bank or whatever. All day long, with family, friends, work colleagues, we have the choice whether to speak in a way that retaliates, withdraws, or engages. Each of these communication styles have their place, but at the very least, it is important to be able to step back and consciously choose how we wish to speak. Developing our capacity for right speech is the work of a lifetime, but the rewards are inconceivable. Every time that we can speak with insight and sensitivity, we bring more happiness into the world. May the practice of right speech enrich your life and the lives of those around you. You can gently come out of the meditation. And now, again, before we conclude, we can take a few minutes to exchange among ourselves, especially if this meditation had an impact on your mind, if you could also interested in feedback generally on the format, if you were able to visualize yourself in that line with that angry person, and if you could imagine how you would feel if you respond in the same way, or if you just withdraw, or if you speak kind words to that person, what difference did it have on your mind? Yes, please use the microphone if you want to speak.
I think this probably reflects badly on me, but going into that scenario, I didn't think I'd be overly aggressive or anything, but I didn't think I'd be nice to this person. And so I thought I'd go along with all of them, but I thought in the end I would have probably just, I don't know, just brushed it off and maybe made some comment back. But actually thinking through the final one where I actually said something nice to the person, was maybe understanding their position, I did actually like that outcome the most. And I thought maybe I would do that. Well, I thought I would do that in the future. So I went into that quite skeptically and came out actually having, I think, learned something.
I think it comes quite natural. You sound British, right?
Yeah.
It comes quite natural to British people. If you bump into them, they will say sorry, not you.
Yeah.
For me, also, it was kind of because I have had a similar kind of a situation where the person didn't say anything insulting to me, but was in a hurry and wanted just to cut off the line. So even at that time, I reacted in a positive way. So, but yeah, if someone says something back to you, I agree with him that probably I also won't be the nicest person. But yeah, the third option kind of, I don't know, it had a different kind of an impact. Like the first two I could imagine very naturally coming to me, but the third one was something I had to really step into. And the effect that it had was me also coming out of it with a positive mindset, and not because when you asked how you were how I was feeling after he said something to me, and I either retaliated or said something in similar way to him, that would have made me also angry. But the third one kind of did not put my mood into that much of a negative state. So yeah.
So I see it's encouraging to participate. So I think I was not rough enough during the meditations to get the person upset, but what I would say, I just could not really go into it because I don't really feel the example is good for the subject. We are talking about the good speech in this subject, and I'm sorry, it's difficult in this subject to come with this remark, but I really have I don't really feel that the example that is presented is touching the core of the good speech. It's touching the point of
Patience. Maybe.
Patience, aggressivity, let's say paying back people with kindness. And this is not the good speech. For me, the good speech, it's going really, really beyond that. It's what I try to do now is to give a speech that's bring to the table in without being arrogant, and in a way that that's contribute to the dialogue and the exchange. But yeah, so for me, to have done a couple of this session, I'm a little bit of the impression, even if I really, really appreciate the example and the exercise, I think it's missing a little bit the target of what we try to look at on the good speech.
Relating with the first example that we discussed and the meditation, I kind of felt that, even me, there was something missing in whatever was written on how right speech is communicated, because I do work in the field of communication, and professionally when we write speeches or draft press releases, like how he pointed out, we have enough time consideration on the choice of words, but that is not what happens in real life. And it doesn't talk much about the emotional modulation, what is required, because it's not just the choice of words. You can use big words, but when all the emotion arises and at the heat of the moment, any professional will also miserably fail, including myself. So I think it would be interesting if that aspect is added, that it's not just choice of words or what you say, but if your mind is not habituated, you don't have the emotional intelligence. Like the first, even till the last three examples, I had a negative reaction, to be honest, that I am in a rush and I am just going to say something explicit to this person because my mind is not habituated. Although I tried when you said in the third example, would you just like try to be kind? But even in an example, all the emotions were arising. So I think it would be good to add on that habituation, just that feedback.
I think gradually with meditation, especially like calm abiding, no, we slowly, gradually, we are more alert, no, when we every day we practice this kind of settling meditation, like we did at the beginning, the first 5 minutes. Then gradually, maybe we become more able to see what's happening in our mind with introspection. And the moment someone disturbs us, like this person skipping the line, then we can see before the full anger, is fully blown, we can see it coming. And maybe at that point, take a step to not allow the anger to take over us. Because as you were saying, what you feel when you retaliate, whatever emotion you have at that point is taking away your peace of mind, right? And at the end of the day, we don't want our peace of mind to be taken away, So, yeah, I think slowly, when we practice more meditation, more calm abiding, we get to see, and also when we study, like about the different mental factors and the different states of mind we can have, then gradually we can see them before they are fully arise and fully take control on us. I think Taraji also wanted to say something.
I was just going to say, actually, quite a bit like what the lady said before me. Yes, you can practice, but it's when the emotion arises. At that point, it's very hard even to find the right words. Even if you want to be empathetic, even if you want to show sensitivity, if you're in the grip of that feeling, the right words are hard to find and the right tone is hard to find. So in that situation, it probably would be best to just keep quiet. But it's also, to me, a question of introspecting after that experience and coming back home and thinking, well, this was a lot also about my own conception of my importance. I mean, why did this person say this to me? Why did they cut in front of me? That me and I that keeps arising. And then, of course, the emotion gets connected with that. I think that's an important aspect of this kind of situation or exercise. So if one could kind of realize that the other person matters as much as me, they could also be in a bad mood, just as I can be in a bad mood. I think that could help it. If I could find a bit of humor in that situation, that would probably be the best, but I'm not sure I would.
Is there such a thing in English called non-violent communication? Is that how it's called in English? Yeah, I think it's one of the tools, not that they give to withdraw when you're already the anger has arose. Then the best thing is to just remain silent or actually run. I think they say run away, like leave the room, escape the situation. That's the best thing to do at that point. But yeah, I think with meditation, we can even try to apply antidotes before the full-blown anger arises in the mind. Yes, somebody else I think wanted to say something online. Not sure. I heard a voice. Maybe not. Anybody here would like to add something? If not, then we can take a moment to conclude the session. And next week we will meditate on respect. So in the meantime, throughout the week, try to think, of ways you can bring right speech into your daily life. And we can dedicate the positive energy that we have accumulated in this session and whatever increased understanding that we might have during this session. Let us dedicate that for all the people who are ill. Let us dedicate that energy for all the people who are suffering mentally or physically, for them to have a good health. To those who are hungry or thirsty, to have food and drink. To those who are being harmed by violence, war, or conflict, for them to be at peace. To those who don't have a home, to be safe. If they live in a cold country, to be warm, and in a hot country, to have fans and ACs. For those who are challenged with loneliness, disharmony, or financial pressures, to end their worries and increase their happiness. And let us think how wonderful it would be if everyone in this room, everyone on Zoom, everyone in the country, and everyone in the world were to reach their potential. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and for joining online. And we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6:30, we have Vajrasattva purification meditation practice. Same time, same place. And this week on Saturday, we have a special guest. We have Venerable Dr. Puja Dabral, also known as Venerable Tenzin Shuying, will give us a talk on anger, actually, and especially the antidotes that we can use to counteract anger, based on the 6th chapter of the Bodhicharya Avatara, which is a text composed by Bodhisattva Shantideva, who was one of the great saints and scholars living at Nalanda University in present-day Bihar. So she will give us a talk at 5 p.m. on Saturday, only online, because she lives there actually in Bihar. She's teaching at the university there, the new Nalanda University, and so forth. So very welcome to join us for that. And meanwhile, every morning, at the moment, we have our morning meditations on Zoom at 9 a.m. So mostly it is what we did the first 5 minutes, shamatha, calm abiding. And regularly also we have analytical meditation on loving kindness, for example, you know. And actually from mid-October, we'll have sessions in person again in the morning. We have a new resident volunteer who will be staying at the center, and she will guide also the meditations in person from mid-October, but in the meanwhile, online. And then next week we have also different teachers coming. There is one Australian teacher who has been a monk for several decades, David Marks. I think on Monday, yes, Monday evening. Is it? Yeah. Anyway, you can check our calendar on tushita.delhi.com, but I think it's Monday evening, 6:30 as well, here in person and online. He will explain us how, you know, to apply the Buddha's teachings in our everyday lives. And then on Wednesday, we have a French teacher, François Chic, who will talk about the 3 wisdoms, the wisdoms of listening, reflecting, and meditating, based on a text of Pabongka Rinpoche. And this will be also here and online. So these are the special events next week. You're most welcome to join us and attend. Thank you very much. Have a good night.